Hello, I'm Madelyn Stumbo, and this is my discussion 3 response post. The person that I chose as my excellent listener in my life was my little brother. Some characteristics from the textbook that made me really think about this and choose him was when I'm talking to him, I feel like he's always nodding along and actively listening, and he asks follow-up questions that make me feel like he's actively engaged in the conversation. And then from chapter 6 in our textbook, it talked about like pseudo-listening and selective listening as these passive hindrances that keep us from listening. But he doesn't do any of those things in conversations, and I can tell that he's truly involved in the conversation. He also, if I say something he doesn't agree with, he gives me pushback and he actively participates in the conversation, which I think makes him a really good listener. For the listening skills quiz, I got a 70 out of 100, which was a good listener but not excellent, and I think I definitely agree with this. I really try to be an active listener, but I think there's certain things like mentioned in our textbook that keep me from listening, like trying to multitask and not give people my full attention, or selective listening and just not being fully present in conversations, which is definitely something I want to improve and work on. And there's a lot of things in our textbooks that I think can really help me become a better listener and communicator, so I'm excited for that. And then I thought it was interesting thinking about listening behaviors and how that can influence power and status. I especially thought the part about silence was really interesting, because there are certain instances where silence is interpreted as a good thing and instances where silence is interpreted as a bad thing. This made me think of our earlier chapters when it talked about age-based privilege, because I think when talking to an older individual, silence is more welcomed as wisdom or just taking time to contemplate things, versus a conversation with a preteen or someone much younger, silence is interpreted as being spacey or not fully present or not understanding the conversation. So I thought that was really interesting on how that can shape credibility and status in communities through communication. Thank you so much for listening. That's all.